A major severe weather outbreak is expected to unfold across the United States over the coming days, and the threat will persist for much of the next 2 weeks. The jet stream is becoming highly active, with multiple storm systems set to roll across the country in rapid succession. Residents across the Plains, Midwest, and Mississippi Valley should pay close attention to local forecasts and be prepared to act quickly. The first signs of trouble will emerge tomorrow across the High Plains. An initial area of concern stretches from Lubbock, Texas northward into Rapid City, South Dakota. While this opening round carries a lower risk level, isolated storms are still capable of producing large hail and damaging winds. It may not be the most dramatic start, but it signals what is coming. Thursday is where the situation becomes significantly more serious. The Storm Prediction Center has already issued a slight risk of severe weather covering an area from Sioux Falls in southwestern Minnesota, stretching back into northern Oklahoma. A broader zone of concern also includes cities like Oklahoma City, Minneapolis, and western Wisconsin. What makes Thursday particularly dangerous is the combination of strong wind shear, a well-organized storm system, and the likelihood of widespread storm development. Storms will be more scattered in the higher-risk areas, but that is actually what makes them more threatening. Isolated supercells have a better chance of producing powerful and long-lived tornadoes. There is a specific conditional threat near Oklahoma City on Thursday evening. If a discrete supercell manages to develop in that area, conditions would be favorable for a strong or even long-track tornado. Meteorologists are watching this window closely. Even outside of that corridor, widespread thunderstorms are expected to bring large hail, damaging winds, and several tornadoes across the region. Friday brings no relief. A slight risk of severe weather is in place for a corridor stretching from Springfield, Missouri, down through Dallas-Fort Worth, and including major cities like Oklahoma City, Tulsa, and Little Rock. On this day, the storm mode is expected to shift toward more linear systems, meaning damaging winds will become the primary hazard. However, large hail and isolated tornadoes remain very much on the table. The severe weather threat does not end there. Saturday and Sunday will bring similar risks to roughly the same areas across the southern plains and surrounding states. The atmosphere will reload between storm cycles, keeping the threat alive day after day with very little downtime for affected communities. Sunday is currently the day that concerns forecasters the most during this entire stretch. There is a real possibility that Sunday reaches an enhanced risk level, which would represent a significant and widespread severe weather event. All hazards will be on the table, including damaging winds, very large hail, and multiple tornadoes. The setup near Dallas-Fort Worth, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Wichita, Little Rock, and Shreveport looks particularly favorable, especially along a powerful dry line that is expected to develop in the region. A dry line is a boundary between dry air pushing in from the west and moist air flowing up from the Gulf of Mexico. When these air masses collide under the right atmospheric conditions, they can trigger explosive thunderstorm development. Sunday's setup has the ingredients that forecasters consider especially dangerous. By Monday, the axis of the threat shifts eastward into the Mississippi River Valley. From Illinois down through Jackson, Mississippi, all severe weather hazards will remain possible. The storm system responsible for this outbreak will still be packing plenty of energy as it moves through the region. Atmospheric instability will be a driving force behind storm intensity throughout this entire period. On Wednesday, instability remains limited, and storm development should stay minimal. Any storms that do manage to form will still be capable of producing isolated hail and wind damage. But widespread severe weather is not expected on that day. By Thursday, the atmosphere becomes much more energized. Strong instability combined with powerful wind shear creates the kind of environment that supports organized, long-lived thunderstorms. This is when the outbreak truly begins in earnest, with the greatest threats concentrated from Iowa southward into Oklahoma. Friday's storm mode shifts, as mentioned, toward more linear systems. Squall lines and bow echoes are more likely on this day, which dramatically increases the wind damage threat across a wide area. Tornadoes are still possible, particularly along the leading edge of storm clusters, where brief spin-ups can occur. Over the weekend, the southern plains will reload under a fresh surge of Gulf moisture and renewed atmospheric energy. Saturday appears somewhat less intense compared to the surrounding days, but it should not be dismissed. Sunday and Monday stand out as the most active days of the extended period, especially across Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, and into the lower Mississippi Valley. A strong low-pressure system will serve as the engine driving this entire weather pattern. it will pull moisture northward from the Gulf of Mexico while dragging cold, dry air down from Canada. Where these air masses clash, thunderstorms will ignite and rapidly intensify. Storm mode will play a critical role in determining exactly how dangerous each day becomes. When storms remain discrete and isolated, the tornado threat is maximized because each storm can organize and strengthen without interference. When storms cluster together into lines, the wind threat takes over as the dominant hazard. High-resolution computer models are painting a volatile picture for Thursday afternoon in particular. The data suggests conditions would be supportive of significant tornadoes if storms manage to develop in the most favorable locations. The key uncertainty is whether storms will actually form in precisely the right areas where wind shear and instability are strongest. Storms on Thursday are expected to fire by early afternoon across parts of South Dakota and Nebraska. Initial hazards from these storms will include large hail and damaging winds. As the afternoon progresses into evening, storm clusters may begin to form in some areas, which would reduce the tornado potential. However, if isolated supercells hold together in Oklahoma, the tornado threat during the evening hours could become very significant. Overnight Thursday into Friday, storms will push eastward and transition into a more linear mode. The tornado risk will decrease during this time, but widespread damaging winds and hail will continue. By Friday morning, storm activity will be ongoing across parts of Illinois and Arkansas before eventually pushing into the southeast. As Friday's system exits, attention will shift back to the southern plains where conditions will be refreshing ahead of the weekend rounds. Each new storm system during this period will have access to deep Gulf moisture and a favorable jet stream pattern, which is why forecasters are so concerned about the extended duration of this threat. After Monday, there are signals in the forecast models that the pattern may begin to shift. Parts of the Midwest and Ohio Valley could see a relative break from severe weather during the first days of May. However, uncertainty increases the further out forecasters look, and the situation will continue to be monitored closely. This is not a one-day event. This is a prolonged and potentially historic stretch of severe weather that will affect millions of people across a large portion of the country. Communities from the southern plains to the Mississippi River Valley need to be on high alert and have a plan in place before storms arrive. U.S. Storm Center will continue to track this developing situation and provide updates as new information becomes available. Make sure you have multiple ways to receive severe weather warnings, including a weather radio, a trusted weather app, and local alerts. Know your shelter location and be ready to move quickly if warnings are issued in your area. Stay informed, stay